The platinum proposition, will it regain number one? Hi, everyone, and welcome to another week of Insights brought to you by Ainslie Bullion and the Gold and Silver Standard. Today, we welcome back Alex, who's been looking at the world of platinum. And we've been talking a little bit off camera, and she's getting me quite excited about something that I wasn't excited about before. So we'll see where this conversation goes today. But welcome back, Alex. How are you going?
I am good again. Thank you for having me back.
So as I just said, you're talking to me and I sort of started the conversation going, platinum, come on. I looked at it a few years ago and it really hasn't gone anywhere since then. I found it to be quite disappointing. And you talked about that in the news today, platinum, the disappointment. So can you start off by just telling us why that's been the case?
So platinum is just a metal that has so many industrial uses. And especially in green energy. So in the last 20 years, it's used for diesel engines. In the catalytic converters, there's about 5 grams per engine.
Mm-hmm.
And it got started. Everyone got excited about it. 2008, $2,300 US an ounce. And then from there, it has just drifted lower, disappointed every investor that's looked at it. And it's sort of been sitting in that range of around $850 to $1150 an ounce for years. And then what happened in 2015 was that whole Volkswagen diesel engine, I guess not a conspiracy, but incident where the emissions were much higher than they were saying. So people went away from diesel engines. So you had a drift away at that point from platinum's use in catalytic converters because catalytic converters weren't used as much. So it's a disappointing metal. And it's one of those metals that everyone has talked about, having opportunities and it'll go at some point, but who knows when.
And that's been it for me. It's that I get in the past, I've gotten the arguments where people have said, yeah, platinum because it's got all this upside potential, but it just never came to be. But you think that things have changed in the last year that really do make you optimistic that this time might be the time that we've been waiting for. So can you maybe step us through some of those arguments, because they were really what started to turn my my opinion on it.
So March 2022, Palladium, which is much easier metal to refine. Mm-hmm. There's more of it. It hit 3,400 US an ounce. So another sort of 30% on platinum's all-time high. So, you've got these lines making catalytic converters. Now, both platinum and palladium can be used for catalytic converters. So when palladium hit $3,500 US an ounce, just like when platinum did in 2000, so in 2008, platinum was $2,300 and palladium was $350 an ounce.
Right. So we've got very much the inverse. Yeah.
Yeah. So there was a switch out then, and now it looks like what's been going on is there's a switch out the other way. There's more catalytic converters now being used for platinum. So that's just fundamental number one. Its current use is being picked up because of how expensive palladium is. Now, palladium is quickly falling in price, but once you change a line, it's very expensive to change a line back. So that's sort of
right. Because that was a question I was just about to ask. I imagine that even though we say those metals are effectively interchangeable one-to-one, it's not the case that you can just pour one metal into the machine. You still need to adjust, I imagine.
Yeah, change the line. So it's a pretty dramatic switch out. So the fundamental use for platinum is 50% catalytic converters. Well, that's going to grow because it's been changed out with palladium. Mm-hmm. But then you've also got the precious metal proposition right now. In the article today, we spoke about how all the corporate cards, platinum corporate card is a higher card than a gold corporate card. But actually, platinum's been sitting at $900 an ounce and gold's at $2,000 an ounce. So, there's this mindset that platinum should be more expensive, but it hasn't been. So you've got that proposition. Then you've also got what's going on in South Africa, what's going on in the world, but 75% of platinum is mined in South Africa. It's energy intensive, and you've got rolling energy issues in South Africa, which is turning on and off the mines there. And so when 75% of your output is from one spot, well, and it's got issues. You might have these supply issues. And then the big unknown is these hydrogen cells. So hydrogen cells use platinum. So platinum is a catalyst within them. So you coat these cells with platinum and it converts water to hydrogen. So there's this huge push by companies and countries right now into green energy. And gas has been spoken about as an interim. Well, the interim after gas is hydrogen. So it's going, it's just a big unknown. And if that demand pulls through, at the same time, you've got the switch out, at the same time, you've got precious metals booming, at the same time, you've got South Africa rolling shutdowns, it just becomes a really good story for platinum, and the first good story in 20 years.
And I just want to dig in a little bit more on one particular point there, because when you're saying about the supply and demand fundamentals, like when you've been talking about that, you highlighted something to me just before, that the platinum supply, like the card example, you use, we just expect it to be that really is to do with supply, and there really is a lot less platinum around, isn't there? Like like visually, if you were to imagine it, there's a lot less platinum than there is gold or any of the other precious metals.
Yeah, so platinum is so 80% of in our Earth.
Yep.
Platinum is 80% to gold's 100%, and they're 4 parts per billion for platinum and 5 parts per billion for gold. But platinum's a more dense mineral, so it actually stays in the Earth's core. So where you've got these mines, and it's the same with gold mines, you've had to have some igneous or metamorphic kind of processes to push it up to the surface, and it happens more rarely with platinum, so much so that even though you've got 80% platinum to gold, platinum in mines is 30 times less than gold. So we spoke about,
because it's not just available where you put a mine down and it's not
more
there.
of it down there. Yeah. So we were speaking about this before. So the statistics are, there's 3 Olympic-sized pools full of gold, and there's an ankle depth of platinum.
Like, that just blew my mind, that visual to go, okay, now I get what you're talking about. It really is a very different supply situation when you think about all the platinum that's above ground and accessible to use for investment, for example, compared to gold. And the other point on that is when you talk about the green stuff, like, and I know people, there's a lot of debate and contention around green energy and what is good and what's bad for the planet or whatever. But from my perspective, it doesn't matter. It matters that governments are pumping lots of money into these sources. So if you've got the government saying, or governments around the world saying, we need to clean up our energy supply, and the way that you do that is through processes that involve platinum, that seems like an ongoing demand story that's going to, support us for quite a while to come.
Look, you've got the Paris Agreement. All of this is coming to a head, and everyone keeps talking about these numbers that everyone's signed up to and how far behind everyone is. And this technology, which is, I remember I did engineering at uni, and I remember being taken at some point to near Redfern. There was a hydrogen cell there, and this was a really big thing. This technology has actually been around for 20 years or more, but it's always been expensive to do. And, as solar cells and things like that become cheaper, this technology is too. And it is being driven that way because the only way, you get these proper batteries, I guess, is through hydrogen. And if platinum's used, there is not a lot of platinum around.
Yep. Well, only an ankle's worth. So that's how I'm going to be referring to it from now on. So let's just sort of wrap up here by talking about the price. So you've given a lot of sort of fundamental reasons through the written stuff today and what you've explained here. Do you see pullbacks then as opportunities? Because I know we have had that little bit of a kick up in the price of platinum. So, you know, is that how you would be approaching this? That anytime it dips back down, we should be looking to maybe add to a position?
Well, I mean, it's $1,130 an ounce at the moment, which is pretty much the highest it's now been in 15 years. So it's just drifted lower since 2008.
Yeah.
They're now talking about shortages. They're now talking. So, you know, if you could get platinum now for $1,000 an ounce on a pullback, I'd be jumping in. But
Yep.
whether or not, you know, that safeguards you, I guess, in some ways as to whether or not that this is a trend, and it protects you if it's not the big kahuna. I think that this will be one day. So whether or not it's now or later, there's got to be a floor on this because you've got supply issues now. But long term, I mean, it's one of those things, you know, people always wait for pullbacks for certain things, but if you're a long-term investor, there's never any point waiting.
No, and you miss, because I use this example when we were discussing it before as well about uranium. I've always been a uranium bull because the fundamentals make all this sense, but it never moves. It just stays, you know, we've had long periods of time where it hasn't. But when it moves, and it will be the same here. That, you know, you don't get a chance once it decides that it's on and that the bull market is on and the supply and demand imbalance is realized, it just takes off. So I think what you've just said there makes a lot of sense from a sort of individual investor perspective. You don't necessarily go in, that's it, I'm going all in today. I've listened to Alex, I'm selling everything, going all in on platinum. But what you do is you consider buying some to get an initial position, maybe, you know, that dollar cost averaging perspective to buy in, because when the move happens, you just don't get a chance.
Yeah, look, I mean, that's how you trade and that's how I trade. And yeah, I've been long platinum just like you probably did on uranium for a couple of months now, and it's paid off. There will be a pullback, there always is, and there will be a bull run, and there always is. So yeah, just people should just be watching the market. But really, if you hear anything about green energy and you start seeing it more in the news, or you see that these South African mines have issues which are well spoken about at the moment, you know, probably don't wait.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of that, I'm going to wrap this up here so I can go in and buy some platinum now that now that I've spoken to you and realized that I am way too short on platinum, not nearly enough of that. So I'll go look into that. But thanks, Alex. Thank you for everything you've done on that today. And I think people really appreciate that today.
Oh, thanks for having me again. And yeah, don't get too excited because
no, I'll take your advice. Just a nibble, but I'll be looking for those pullbacks. Thanks everyone for watching. Remember, reach out with any questions or comments on the social platforms, and we get back to you on those. That's us for today. Stay safe in the markets, everyone. We'll be back later in the week to see. It's actually quite a big data week, so we'll no doubt be talking about those data releases coming out then. I'll talk to you later. See you then.